fellow bookworms, to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and we just finished The Ring by Danielle Steel. Today we are discussing the last set of chapters, but my final thoughts video should be coming out soon. So if you're not already, please subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on a thing, and then give this video a like while you're at it. It really helps out the channel and gets my videos out there the more likes I have. So really excited to not only do the discussion questions today, but also discuss my final thoughts on this. Of course, today we are going to be starting the next book of the month for November, which is Obsidian Butterfly by Laurell K. Hamilton. This one, we are going to be reading the first 16 chapters this week, and then we'll be discussing those next week. There are links in the description below where you can pick up a copy if you would like to participate, as well as the breakdown of the chapters each week. Really excited to get into this one. We also do a series Saturday. We are currently working our way through the Dresden Files series. We are on Summer Night right now. We read the first half of the book. My thoughts on that is this past Saturday's video, and then we'll finish it up this week and then talk about my thoughts on the book as a whole this coming Saturday. We also do a Throwback Thursday where we discuss different childhood books, and we do a weekly read Wednesday. We are currently finishing up First to Die by James Patterson. My thoughts will be out this Wednesday on this book. And then this Wednesday, we were going to be reading The Morning After by Lisa Jackson. Excited to jump into this one. It sounds really good. So, and then of course, next Wednesday, I always like to introduce the next book of the month. I always say book of the month. The next weekly read. So if you want to get a physical copy, you can go ahead and pick that up. And you have some time to get it. And we are going to be reading Pure Joy by Danielle Steel. I wanted to read another one by her after finishing The Ring. Like, I really wanted to try another book. And this one's actually a nonfiction book. So excited to read this. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis for you guys so you get an idea of what it's about. And so yeah, let's see here. It says, it was time again to take a chance to expand her life in unexpected ways, to find a companion with whom to travel the world. So a successful novelist begins a dog search. Who knew the perfect choice would be a smaller than small, long-haired teacup chihuahua named Minnie Mouse? It was love at first sight. Pure joy. In this funny, lovely, moving memoir, Danielle Steel tells the story of how she met a dog the size of a mouse with a personality that could light up an entire room. From Minnie's arrival at home in San Francisco to clothes shopping jaunts in Paris, her adventures provide the perfect backdrop for a heartfelt look at the magic that dogs bring into our lives and how they become part of the family, making indelible memories. We meet Steele's childhood pug, James, and Elmer, the basset hound, who was steadfastly at her side in her struggling days as a young writer. Sweet Pea, unveiled in a Tiffany box for a dog-loving husband, and all those lucky dogs who shared a household of 9 children, other canines, and 1 pot-bellied pig. She reflects on the beloved pets who have brought joy and sometimes chaos to her home throughout the years. Steele also shares her thoughts on the trials and tribulations of bringing a new dog into a household and the challenges of housebreaking and compatibility, the losses we feel forever. Filled with colorful characters, human and otherwise, delightful photographs, practical wisdom drawn from long experience, and brimming with warmth and insight on every page, Pure Joy is a love letter to this special relationship and one of the most charming books yet from the incomparable Danielle Steel. So I'm of course a huge animal lover in general, but in particular, I love dogs. So I'm really excited to read this one, and like I said, I hope you will join me. As always with our weekly reads, a good way to participate if you want to is either check your local library. A lot of these are a little bit older and they might be at your library, or if you don't mind not having a physical copy, um, electronic reading or audio books are a great way to participate as well if the book is available in that format. But really excited for that one. I think we're all caught up now, so let's go ahead and jump in to the discussion questions. This one, I try to keep it spoiler light when we're doing the discussion questions, but there's always a certain level of spoilers since we are discussing the chapters and the characters. This set of chapters, because it's the end of it, the spoilers are a little bit heavier. So if you haven't finished reading, and if you're planning on reading it, then I would say jump off this video now and then come back once you have read it, because there are some things that happen in this chapter that are somewhat, well, definitely spoilers for sure. But let's go ahead and start with chapter 40. If Ariana really does love Paul, why is she holding back? And I think, part of it, she really hasn't moved on from Manfred. And so she's really hesitant to jump into a relationship with Paul. And then also, I think she doesn't truly know where her intentions lie. She doesn't know if she really does love him, or if she's, just kind of grasping onto him because she's lonely, and then, her hormones are all out of whack. And then she has this thought planted in her head by the doctor, and so maybe she doesn't really know where her intentions lie, and so she's kind of hesitant to start a relationship because she's still struggling with that whole situation for sure. That's kind of why I think she's kind of holding back and not jumping into a relationship with him, even if she does love him for real. So 41. The truth is out. Would Paul have been as angry if she had not only told him sooner, but in a different manner? And I don't think he would have. I think, one, if she had told him sooner, that would have, definitely helped, especially if she had told him before everything progressed with them. Um, I think that would have helped. And two, I think if she had come to him and, even if she had waited, if she had come to him instead of her finding, walking in on her, crying over another man, I think I think he would have been angry because she waited so long, and she was lying, but I think he would have been less angry than walking into that situation. But obviously, if she had told him sooner, that would have been the better option. And I think he would have been a lot less angry whether, he had walked in on her crying over the man or not, if it had happened before, everything progressed between them. And 42. Would the Liebmans have been more forgiving of the other lies if Ariana had been Jewish? And I honestly think they would. I think they were so upset because, moreover, the fact that she lied about being Jewish than anything else. I mean, obviously, Paul was definitely upset about, her lying and trying to pass off the baby as his and everything like that. But I think the biggest issue was the fact that she wasn't Jewish and she was lying. And I think they would have been more forgiving if she was Jewish and had been lying, because they would have just, oh, well, she's been through a lot. Like, I think they would have been more sympathetic towards her. So. And 43, even with the consequences she faced, did Ariana make the right choice telling Paul the truth? And I do think she did. Obviously, she should have said something sooner, but I do think she made the right choice because she made that choice before the baby actually came. Obviously, she probably wouldn't have if he hadn't caught her, but she could have extended the lie. Like, there was a moment where she could have extended the lie, and added more lies on top of it, and she chose not to. And she already really struggled with whether this was the right thing to do at all. But then she loved Paul, and so she thought that would be okay. Um, but yeah, I think making that choice before the baby came, because if he had found out years and years later, that would have affected the baby, for sure, because there would have been that relationship and everything like that. So I think she did make the right choice. And let's see, 44. Why did Max try so hard to find Ariana and her family? And I think for Max, it wasn't only, the only tie he had left to Germany. I think, they literally saved his life. And so I think, he wanted to make sure they were okay, and maybe return the favor a little bit if they weren't doing okay. So I think that's why, and obviously him and Ariana shared a little moment. And so I think, he kind of had a deeper connection to her as well. and she probably had stayed with him all these years, and so I think that's why he definitely made such a concentrated effort to try to find them. Just they saved his life, they literally did. And 45, even though they never married, did Max's role in Ariana and Noel's life influence Noel to become a lawyer? I can't talk today. I had coffee this morning. I'm all, "Ugh." Anyway, I think it did. Because Max is literally the only male role model or father figure that Noel has in his life. Um, so I do think that definitely influenced him. Max being a lawyer. I think a lot of times, young men either follow in their father's footsteps or they have a male role model and they want to kind of follow in their footsteps. So I think, if Max hadn't been in their lives, he probably would have gone a different route, and maybe he wouldn't have, but I do think Max influenced it for sure. 46, why was it so important to Noel to visit Germany? And I think, one, he kind of wanted to see where he came from, like where his people came from. And two, I think it also brings him closer to his mother. She's talked, to him about Germany and her life there. And so I think, he wanted to see where she grew up and everything. And then lastly, it's also his only tie to his father. And so he wanted to go and see the country where his father was born and the country his father fought for and everything like that. And 47, at this point in her life, why is Ariana finally willing to marry Max? And I think, at first she was in survival mode. And then after the whole situation with Paul, she put all her focus and effort into Noel. And so, why she enjoyed having companionship with Max, there was no room for him uh, in a more in depth role in her life. Where now Noel's grown and he's starting his own life. And so she's kind of willing to open up more and open another spot in her life to Max. And I also think at this point, a lot of years have gone by and she's probably healed a lot, and Max has been there every step of the way, which I think helps a lot. I don't think she would have just decided to marry anybody, but Max has been there since the beginning, especially with Noel and everything like that. And in what ways could the past family connections of Tammy and Noel cause their relationship to fail? This is chapter 48. Um, and I think it could definitely have caused a lot of strain in their relationship, which the added strain could definitely cause a relationship to fail, especially with as close as Noel is with his mom. If Ariana hadn't been accepting, um, that that would have been a major source of tension, as well as on the other side, any family get-togethers or anything with Tamara's family, that would have caused issues for sure. And and it bleeds over into your own family. Like, in-laws can make or break a relationship sometimes. Sometimes not. Like, sometimes if whoever you're in a relationship doesn't want anything to do with maybe a toxic family, it can work out, but a lot of times they do affect the relationship. And so it definitely could have caused the relationship to fail if that tension was there. And especially if they have kids down the line and things like that, it could have caused a lot of issues. And 49, is Paul right that Tamara's and Noel's backgrounds are an issue? Uh, and yes and no. I think depending one on outside sources, so like their family, if their families had continued to make it an issue, it would have been an issue. And also if they didn't respect each other's backgrounds, especially Noel, with Tamara being Jewish, um, it can cause issues. But as long as two people are going into it open minded and respectful, and their families are open minded as well, it can work perfectly fine. I think, again, it's outside influences or not having that respect of somebody's background that causes the issue. And 50, Deborah and Julia weren't able to forgive Ariana. With Paul being more affected by what happened, why was he able to forgive? And I think, part of it, he was closer to Ariana, and so yes, he was hurt and everything, but he did know her true nature. Um, and she was able to open up to him a little bit more. And so he was closer to the situation that happened, obviously, where, sometimes from the outside looking in, they know was she did their brother wrong and she's out of their life forever now. And so I think with Paul, it was a little bit easier once he healed because he did have a sense of who Ariana really was as well. And let's see here, 51. With the different directions their lives took, what brought Ariana and Gerhard back together? And so, of course, this was the big spoiler. And I think the biggest thing was that Gerard never gave up hope. And so when he had that lead, even though it had been so many years and he had so many leads fail, he still checked out that lead. I mean, he could have just as easy said, "There's no way it's her," and just let it go. But instead, he had hope that one day he would find his sister. And so I think that's really what, like, I mean, a little bit of fate probably played a hand, bringing Noel, obviously to Paris, because Noel went and visited Germany and everything, and he had an opportunity to maybe meet him at one point, but it wasn't until they went back and they went to Paris and caught up with a friend and everything that it all kind of worked out. And so I think, a little bit of fate, but mostly the fact that Gerard always held onto the hope that he would find his sister and was willing to follow any lead, even though it might not pan out. And even though it was hard on him, he still maintained that hope. So I think Gerard was definitely instrumental in making the choice and finding his sister. So but that is it for the chapters. If you have any thoughts on any of the questions, definitely leave them down in the comments below. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book and I can't wait to jump into my final thoughts, which I'm going to go ahead and do right after I finish this video. So I'm going to leave you here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.